we are on page 86. Just a while ago, we solved for problem B, which is where I got 5 and 7/8 times 5 and 7/8. I'm measuring what is the total area in square feet, the fence that encloses. So the fence that encloses is 5 and 7/8 times 5 and 7/8. I'm going to multiply 8 times 5, which is equal to 40, and 40 plus 7, which is equal to 47 over 8 times 47 over 8. They're both the same, so that's where I'm getting 47 over 8. Now I'm going to multiply 47 times 47. So right here, you're going to see 47 times 47. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 4 is 32. Bring down my 0 because now I'm multiplying my tens place. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18. I'm going to add all of my numbers together. I get 9, 10, 12, and 2. So I get 2,209. 2,209. And I am dividing that by 64. So 2,209 divided by 64. First things first, I'm going to multiply because I need to figure out how many times does 64 go into 220. And I think about 3 times. 4 times 3 is equal to 12. 6 times 3 is 18. Plus 1 is 19. I get 192. Okay, now I am going to subtract. So I have 10 minus 2, which is going to give me 8. 2 changes to a 1. I borrow. 11 minus 9 is going to give me 2. And 1 minus 1 is equal to 0. Bring down my 9. So now I'm going to try 64 times 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. 6 times 4 is equal to 24, plus 1 is 25. So I'm going to write 4 and write down 256 and subtract. 9 minus 6 is equal to 3. 8 minus 5 is equal to 3. And that is going to be my remainder. So 64 is going to be on the bottom and 33 is going to be on the top. Now I'm looking at my number 33 and 64. You can't reduce it anymore. You can't simplify it anymore. So that is going to be my final answer. So I have 34 and 33 over 64 square feet. Is it square feet? Yep, it's in square feet. Okay, we're going to skip over problem number 3 because I want to focus today more on the homework, which has multi-steps, and I think a lot of you guys struggle more with the multi-step problems. So we're going to turn the page, and we're on page 87. So on page 87, it says here, some wire is used to make 3 rectangles, A, B, and C. Rectangle B dimensions are 3/5 centimeters larger than rectangle's A dimensions, and rectangle C's dimensions are 3/5 centimeters larger than rectangle B's dimensions. Rectangle A is 2 centimeters by 3 and 1/5 centimeters. So the first thing I figured out was, what are the measurements of each rectangle? I knew that rectangle C was going to be the biggest measurements because it says right here that rectangle C's dimensions are 3/5 centimeters larger. And for B was going to be the second largest because I knew that rectangle B dimensions were 3/5 centimeters larger than rectangle's A. So rectangle A is going to be the smallest dimension. And they only give me rectangle A, which is 2 centimeters by 3 and 1/5 centimeters. So what I did was I added to each dimension by 3/5, and that's how I'm getting these numbers here. Okay, so we're going to start with area A. With area A, I am multiplying a rectangle A. I am multiplying 3 and 1/5 times 2. So that's what I'm doing here. I have 2 over 1 times 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 is 16 over 5. I'm multiplying 16 times 2, and then I'm dividing that by 5. So 16 times 2, 6 times 2 is 12, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. I get 32 divided by 5. Oh, you guys can't see that. I know that 5 can go into 32 6 times because 5 times 6 is equal to 30. It's so messy. 32 minus 30 is equal to 2, so my remainder is 2 and my denominator is 5. I get 6 and 2/5 as my final answer. So this is 32, and then I divided those and I got 6 and 2/5. Is it square feet? Yes, it's square feet. Right, we're measuring by, no, it's centimeters squared. Centimeters squared. Okay, now I'm going to measure or solve for area B. So for area B, I have 2 and 3/5. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13 over 5. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 4 is 19 over 5. So what I have here is 13/5 times 19/5 is equal to, so I'm going to multiply 13 and 19 together. I'm going to move it a little bit higher. 13 times 19. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 1 is 9. And 9 plus 2 is equal to 11. Bring down my 0 because now I'm multiplying my tens place. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. And I'm going to add all of my numbers together. So I get 247. 5 times 5 is equal to 25. Now, I am going to divide 247 divided by 25. Okay, so I'm looking at my numbers here, and I know that, let's see, I know that 25 can go into 245 how many times is what I need to figure out. Okay, so I know, I'm thinking of quarters when I'm thinking of 25 because that helps me remember, like, okay, how many quarters can go into a dollar, and I know that 4 quarters can go into a dollar. So for this one, it looks like you have $2, so it's going to be 8 quarters, right? $2, 8 quarters. And I'm figuring out how 47, I can't really do 2 more quarters and 8, right? So it cannot be 10, but it's going to be 9. So I'm going to write 9. And I can multiply if I need to, but I know that 25 times 9 is equal to 225. 7 minus 5 is equal to 2. 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. So my remainder is 22 and my denominator is 25. So that's what I'm going to write down. I have 9 and 22 over 25 centimeters squared. Okay, I'm not quite done yet because now I need to find the area C. So for area C, this is what I'm multiplying. I have 3 and 1/5 times 4 and 2/5. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1 is 16 over 5. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 2 is 22 over 5. Now I am going to multiply 16 times 22. 6 times 2 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Bring down my 0. 2 times 6 is 12 again. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. I add everything together and I'm going to get 352. And 5 times 5 is equal to 25. So again, I'm figuring out how many times can 25 go into 352. Okay, so I'm going to divide that right here. Can you guys see that? 352 divided by 25. 25 can go into 35 once. 5 minus 5 is 0. 3 minus 3 minus 2 is 1. Bring down my 2. 25 can go into 102 4 times because 25 times 4 is 100. Subtract, my remainder is 2 and my denominator is 25. So I get 14 and 2/25 as my final answer. And don't forget centimeters squared, because we are figuring out for area. If you're figuring out for volume, it's going to be cubed or to the power of 3. Okay, now I started writing for total area. You're adding 6 and 2/5 centimeters squared, 9 and 22/25 centimeters squared, and 14 and 2/25 centimeters squared. So when you add all of those numbers together, you're going to get your final answer. And your final answer is going to be 30. When you add 6 plus 9 plus 14, you're going to get 30. And don't forget your fractions, so you're going to get 9/25 centimeters squared. Okay, I'm going to skip problem B, but we're going to move on to the next page. So we're on page 89. I know there's a little page in between those two pages. It's just an empty page, but now we're on page 89. You're not skipping a page, but you're just turning your page. So make sure you're doing that. I'm going to go over problem 1, and I'm going to read it out loud to you guys first. So number 1 says right here, the width of a picnic table is 3 times its length. And that's why I made sure I put 3 times the length. If the length is 6 yards long, so we know this one right here is going to be 6 yards long. What is the area of the picnic table in square feet? So in order to find the area, I'm first going to find the width because I still don't know what the width is. So to find that, I'm going to multiply times 3. So I have 3 times 5, which is equal to 15, and 1 times 6, which is equal to 6. I am going to divide. And if you guys are getting really good at your math fluency, you are going to be able to divide in your head. But if you can't, and that's why I write everything down, then make sure you're writing it out and solving for it, and not just watching me solve for it, but actually learning how to do it yourself, because I can't hold your hand to do it for you on your math test, right? So we have 6, and I know that 6 goes into 15 twice. So I'm going to subtract 15 minus 12 is equal to 3. My remainder is 3, and my denominator is 6. So you have 2 and 3/6, which is the same as when you divide 3 over 3, you're going to get 1/2, okay? To simplify your problem. So I have 2 and 1/2 yards squared. Now, I have that number, so that's what I did here. I brought it down. Now I'm finding the area. To find area, I'm going to multiply 6 times 2 and 1/2. So 2 and 1/2, I told you earlier. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so I get 5/2. And 5 times 5 is 25, and 6 times 2 is 12. I know that 12 can go into 25 twice, and my remainder is 1. And my denominator is 12. So my final answer is 2 and 1/12 yards squared. My pen is smearing. There you go. Okay. Now the next problem is one of the longer problems with multi-steps that I was talking about earlier. So number 2, a painting company will paint this wall of a building. The owner gives them the following dimensions. So they give them all the measurements, but if you notice, we need to make sure we're subtracting A, B, C, and D because he's not asking us to paint those areas. So this is your key right here. You know that window A is 6 and 1/4 feet times 5 and 3/4 feet. We know that window B is 3 and 1/8 feet times 4 feet. And we know that window C is 9 and 1/2 feet. And then we know that door D is 4 feet times 8 feet. So we now know all the measurements in order to figure out what is the gray area or the wall that we need to paint. So first thing, I'm going to measure all the walls, including A, B, C, D. And the reason being is because I can take that wall number and subtract afterwards.